Well, over the weekend, we started getting quite a few rumors for Marvel Studios' Thunderbolts, and a casting call that seemed to indicate Marvel was looking for an evil Superman. Who is this evil Superman, and which character from Marvel Comics might be coming to life on the big screen? Well, there are a lot of possibilities, but I think if you look at this movie, it should become very clear. Let's take a couple minutes to break it all down. Well, I know many people are super excited about the upcoming Thunderbolts movie. We've been hearing a lot of rumors about this production, and although we haven't gotten anything official from Marvel, here's your daily reminder, if it's not from Marvel Studios or Kevin Feige, it's just a rumor, it appears some interesting things are happening behind the scenes. Now, this report actually comes from Daniel RPK. And in a report, it says Marvel is seeking to cast an evil Superman for the upcoming Thunderbolts movie. Now, this casting call is looking for a lead male between 30 and 50, and the casting call cites him as a conflicted and powerful villain described as an evil Superman, will need a strong actor for the role. Now, in the report, he does actually drop two names that Marvel is interested in to fill this role, and that would be Ryan Gosling and Alexander Skarsgård. Now, when this news first dropped, immediately people started talking about Hyperion. Now, Hyperion is basically one of Marvel's versions of Superman, and he's often portrayed as a villain. In the comics, he's actually an Eternal from another multiverse, and he's had time on both the good and bad side of the Marvel Universe. But I have to say, after reading a blog entry from Murphy's Multiverse, I think they have a much better idea of what's going on. When you look at this upcoming Thunderbolts movie, you have to notice there is some commonality amongst many of the heroes cited. In the film right now, we actually have Red Guardian, Bucky Barnes, and US Agent, who have all had various versions of the Super Soldier Serum, which I think is the main clue in the upcoming film. Now, Marvel Studios loves their Super Soldier Serum. It's been a key part of the Marvel Universe since the early days, being first mentioned in 2008's Incredible Hulk, in which it played a very key role in creating the Abomination. Then we got the full backstory in 2011's Captain America the First Avenger, and got to know Abraham Erskine. As we've moved through time in the Marvel Universe, it keeps on popping up. We found out in Captain America Civil War, and in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there have been multiple projects to reproduce that serum. And by the time we get to the Thunderbolts, we basically have a roster of characters who are very influenced by that exact subject. Now, Dr. Erskine created the Super Soldier Serum for the United States, but during that time frame, several other countries started to develop their own serum. This is how Red Guardian ended up getting his powers. Well, one of those other countries that worked on the Super Soldier Serum in the comics was Canada. Now, in the comics, Canada's Department K is kind of a villainous and shady part of the Canadian government, and in the books they actually took several projects, including Project Rebirth and the Weapons Plus experiments that created Captain America, and tried to recreate it as part of their own project, and that project was called Project Sentry. Now, this project produced the Golden Sentry Serum, and this version was thousands of times stronger than the US version. Now, the serum was eventually used on Robert Reynolds, who became the superhero known as the Sentry. Now, for years in the comics, the Sentry was one of Earth's greatest heroes, but the Sentry did find himself up against a very great and unseen evil, something known as the Void. Now, eventually he does figure out, though, that the powerful and destructive Void was actually part of himself, and in the comics, he worked with Doctor Strange and Mr. Fantastic to make the entire world forget he even existed. Now, the character has had a lot of time in the Marvel Comics since he returned, even seeing him square off against the Worldbreaker Hulk in World War Hulk. And that really should be where the possibilities of the Sentry joining the MCU should raise eyebrows. Now, the Sentry himself really isn't an evil Superman, but Marvel Studios rarely adapts anything just based on the little bit of information in a casting call, and it really doesn't take a lot of imagination to figure out how they could be putting these pieces together and how it is the perfect opportunity for the Thunderbolts. The fact that Harrison Ford's character, Thaddeus Ross, has always been neck deep in the Super Soldier Serum, and CIA Director Valentina Allegra de Fontaine has been assembling a group of soldiers who have been enhanced by the Super Soldier Serum, it really doesn't take a lot of work to figure out what might be going on here. I absolutely see a story where these Thunderbolts also have their powerhouse. That would be the Sentry. Ultimately, throughout the story, the Sentry becomes unhinged and becomes that quote-unquote evil Superman they're looking to cast. I also think when you look at the two names that are talked about for this casting, Ryan Gosling and Alexander Skarsgård, they both absolutely fit Sentry perfectly and bear zero resemblance to Hyperion. That's a huge clue. Now, what Marvel's long-term plans for Sentry are, I have no idea. The character is immensely powerful, and they really do need to be kind of careful on what they do here. I have already mentioned World War Hulk once, and if you know how the Sentry fits into that story and the timeline where he would be introduced in the MCU, it really should make you think that that part of the story for World War Hulk might actually come to fruition on screen. I would love to see the Sentry join the MCU. Some of his recent comic stories are really great, and he is the kind of character that would add something absolutely new to the overall Marvel universe. Now, obviously, none of this has been confirmed yet by Marvel Studios, so we want to be really careful here. But I do think with this recent report, we probably should be looking more to the Sentry than Hyperion when trying to figure out who this evil Superman might be. I will admit, Hyperion's a pretty great character, and the MCU was already set up for an Eternal from another part of the multiverse to make its appearance. None of these are a problem. Just the Sentry fits much better into the story with the Thunderbolts and its association with the super soldier serum. Obviously, we're covering everything Marvel Studios and especially the Thunderbolts moving forward, so make sure you smash that like and subscribe button and ring the bell for all the updates. But until we know more, gotta know what you guys think. How do you feel about evil Superman potentially joining the MCU? And which evil Superman do you think most likely shows up? I have to say, I'm leaning towards Sentry. Sound off in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure you hit like, click subscribe, and if you don't ring that bell, you're not getting any updates. Peace.